Hello, friends. Welcome to the 17th episode of the Schoolyard Podcast, brought to you by School Specialty. I'm your host, Nancy Chung, a fun-loving teacher and content creator, also known as Fancy Nancy in Fifth on social media, and I'm thrilled that you're here. A special shout out to School Specialty, who offers essential educational supplies and complete learning environment solutions to help you transform more than classrooms. School Specialty is excited to introduce Schoolyard Connect, a new site where educators can go to find helpful resources, including blogs, webinars, case studies, sample lesson plans, and more. Go to the site that's made for educators like you, schoolspecialty.com/schoolyard-connect. This is the Schoolyard Podcast, a podcast by educators for educators where the magic of learning unfolds. Artificial intelligence, or AI, has emerged as a groundbreaking force in our world within a relatively short span of time. With its increasing presence in educational settings, educators and students alike are confronted with a host of challenges, from embracing novel teaching methodologies to grappling with fears of job displacement and contending with complex issues like data privacy and unethical use. Yet, amidst these formidable obstacles, the potential of AI in education shines brightly. AI-powered tools offer the promise of personalized learning, instantaneous feedback, and the cultivation of critical thinking abilities. However, unlocking this potential demands a concerted effort of collaboration among educators, policymakers, and developers, ensuring that the integration of AI is both responsible and equitable. The harnessing of AI holds the key to unlocking boundless opportunities for learners worldwide. In today's episode, we'll be talking about some of these integrations and opportunities with the queen of AI apps and programs, Emily Anderson Karst, also known as Joyful Noise Teaching. Emily is an assistant principal, mom, and content creator seeking to make teachers' lives more joyful through sharing lifestyle tips and life hacks that uplift teachers and connect a community of moms, educators, and women she has built on her platforms. Welcome to the Schoolyard, Emily.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you're here. I've been following you on Instagram and have been a huge fan, so I'm over here totally fangirling. So thank you so much. Would you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Emily. Like I said, or like she said, I'm a third-year assistant principal and absolutely love being an administrator. So grateful to kind of have my finger on the pulse of the day-to-day life in schools. And there's no one I have greater respect for than teachers, and the work that teachers do is so important. So I love that my job is all about making teachers' lives easier by removing barriers and that day-to-day kind of work. The other things about me, I'm a mom of two. My oldest, Lucy Jane, is 3, and then my youngest, whose name is Anderson, and we call her MJ. It's a long story. She's 1.5. And yeah, other than that, I just create content that I hope sparks joy for people. I used to be an elementary music teacher and then fell into administration, and kind of all the way. It's been interesting to kind of watch, starting way back in the pandemic, teaching people how to teach virtually to now about AI, and the way that I've kind of fallen into that whole world has been so interesting. And so now I have a lot of relationships with artificial intelligence education companies, and I've been able to be involved in conversations that have just been really fascinating to be a part of, and an honor as this world is evolving so quickly.
And you make everything seem so easy. When you introduce an app or a program, I'm like, and you just make things so easy and like easy to follow. So thank you for sharing all of that on social media. Now, as educators, whenever I bring up AI, I have like a big group, like big school of teachers going, oh, no, it's not for me. And I'm constantly having to tell them, like, it's not going away anytime soon. And so we have to learn to embrace it. But there's still a lot of people who are kind of fighting it. you know? So as educators, how do we address the fear of AI replacing traditional teaching methods and instead use it as a tool to enhance instruction?
Absolutely. And a great question. It's all about reframing. I think when the internet came into our world, there were definitely some people, and maybe I would have been one of them, that was so concerned about what this was going to do to the world. And if you look
Right.
at our world right now, the internet has radically changed our world in some ways for the good, in some ways not for the good, in some ways in ways that we wish it hadn't changed. But either
Mhm.
way, once that invention came into the world was going to change.
Mhm.
And at this point, it's kind of like what you know helps you navigate it better. So
Mhm.
AI is kind of a similar analogy. It's here in the world. It's not going to go away. We have to learn how to use it. But more importantly than us learning how to use it, we have to teach our kids how to use it
Absolutely.
because they are growing up in a world where this already exists.
Mhm.
We talk about our kids all the time being digital natives, and that's amazing. But a lot of our teachers are now digital natives. So they feel comfortable teaching kids how to interact with
Mhm.
the internet and technology. But none of us in the teaching profession right now are native to a world that has accessible AI.
Right.
Kids will be. So they are going to know how to use it. And if we don't know how to use it also, it sets them up for not understanding how to use it well. Because like any
Mhm.
highly powerful tool, it can be used well or used poorly. And if our kids aren't given good instruction on how to use it well, they're going to use it poorly.
Right. Right. I mean, just like parenting, you can't just shield and like shield our kids from all these things that could potentially be harmful. We can't bubble wrap them and just keep them, in the bubble. We have to teach them how to make good choices, right? So that kind of leads into the next question I have for you. How can we ensure that the AI technologies in the classroom foster genuine critical thinking and problem solving skills rather than simply providing quick answers? So tools for students. So what can we do to ensure that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think depending on the age of the student, you want to be really careful what AI tools they are using. So I'll give you an example from an
Mhm.
elementary standpoint because I'm an elementary assistant principal. One of the things that works so well for AI right now is you do all the front loading of the critical thinking work and you tell the kids, we will utilize these tools and you will love it. But I want you to hang with me and trust me in my own pacing as the adult in the room to show you when is the right time to bring this tool in because it's the same flow that you would use in your adult life. So, for example, let's say you're teaching a text, an informational text. And so they read the informational text, they learn about that. You go through your process, whatever your standards are for whatever grade level. After you go through that work, maybe then like they're annotating it. And then after they annotate it, then they're going to make their own informational text, but then they're going to flip it and they're going to make it fictional and they're going to add characters and they're going to add settings and they're going to do these pieces. So that's you're doing your teaching, kind of like what you're normally doing.
Mhm.
Then when you're done with that, maybe your kids have created a story that has these characters and they look this way. Let me give you a really concrete example. The character in the story is a dog that has blue fur and is in a hot air balloon for some reason in the story.
Mhm.
You can go to an AI image generator and type that in, and students can put a dog, it's blue fur, it's in a hot air balloon, and it will spit out an image for kids. And
Mhm.
so using it that way allows them to do the entire creative process, plus
Mhm.
the academic rigorous process. And when
Mhm.
it's completed, to kind of put the stamp on the end by letting the technology express their creativity. So
All
in
right.
my opinion, that is at this stage of the game, and this will change, which is why I tell people like keep watching, keep learning, because things are going to change minute to minute to minute.
Radically, yeah. Mhm.
Yes. But right now, from a student's perspective, I recommend bringing AI in at the end to put the fun on, to put the cherry on top.
Yes. Uh-huh.
That's at the elementary level. But for
Mhm.
teachers, I see it a little bit differently. For teachers, I think one of the most like heartbreaking pieces of our teaching culture right now is that it is so hard. And anywhere you look on any aspect of the internet, social media, you will hear teachers saying, I am burned out,
Mhm.
tired. I just don't love it like I used to because
Mhm.
it's just draining me,
Yes. Uh-huh.
which is heartbreaking. And I know probably you can relate. I can certainly relate. You love it so much, but it takes it out of you.
Mhm.
Part of that is because in the teaching profession, and this is very different than most other professions in 2024,
Mm-hmm.
teachers are wearing way too many hats. They're
Mm-hmm.
doing teaching, the thing they specialize in, the thing that they love, but they're getting bogged down by all the peripheral tasks
Absolutely.
they
Uh-huh.
also have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in my opinion, the most radical way to use AI right now to move the needle on students' experience, on teacher experience, school experience, is by using it as a practical way to address teacher well-being. And by
Mm-hmm.
taking an AI tool to use it as your assistant. And that
Mm-hmm.
guide by the side, where if there's work that you're like, this is not my specialty. I did not go to
Uh-huh.
college for this. I do not love this. This is
Uh-huh.
not the thing that gives me joy. Throw it to AI. Let
Mm-hmm.
AI spit you out a really general example of whatever it is you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the teacher, who is the expert, who has that professional judgment and wisdom, can come
Mm-hmm.
back in and make the edits,
Mm-hmm.
use it. So
Right.
right now,
Uh-huh.
that's how I tell people to approach AI tools. It's like, come
Mm-hmm.
at it knowing that when
Mm-hmm.
you've done a little bit of discomfort of learning a new thing, it
Mm-hmm.
will unlock the potential of giving you back balance and
Mm-hmm.
less hectic stress as far as the tasks you have to
That
do.
is so true. I mean, it really, I mean, I think some teachers might view it as something that's going to create more of a headache for them. But
Mhm.
like you said, it really can help the teacher like get their time back, get the, like get, I don't know, like let's say I'm drafting a newsletter to parents, or if I'm doing report card comments, or if I'm doing like a recommendation for a student teacher. Sometimes getting started is the hard part, right? So I can like
Absolutely.
using different apps, I can say, um, you know, write a teacher recommendation, or a recommendation for a student teacher who is this, and I'll like type it all out, but it's choppy,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
it'll like spit out something that's like kind of like outlined, or outlined in a certain way, and I can go back and say, okay, make this, add this, take this out, or make it more personable, or
Exactly.
and so I can just kind of like get a tailor-made template of what I
Absolutely.
want to do. Saves me so much time because it's just getting started. That's the hard part.
That is so true. Just like our kids have
Mm-hmm.
executive functioning that they need support with, we have
Mm-hmm.
executive functioning we need support with. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
task, it's getting the task started and thinking about breaking that task down, which just as a
Yes.
little side note, and this is
Mm-hmm.
just a tool that I would recommend.
Uh-huh.
If you do have students in your class that struggle with executive functioning, and who doesn't? I mean, every single person does, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you yourself struggle with that, there's an AI tool for that, and it's called Goblin Tools. It's so
Mm-hmm.
amazing. You like put in the big tasks. So like as
Uh-huh.
an example, if you put in, my task is create a 10-slide Google presentation about birds,
Oh wow. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and then hit enter. The AI program will break it into a task list that has checkbox of like
Uh-huh.
every single teeny tiny task you would need to do. So it takes the lift out so that students don't have
Wow.
to be like, I don't even know where to begin. Like,
Right. The overwhelming sensation is gone. You
yes,
said that's
it'll
called Goblin Task?
Goblin Tools. Mhm.
Goblin Tools. Okay.
Yes. So it
Wow.
will
Okay.
say like step one, open
Uh-huh.
googleslides.com. Step two, click
Uh-huh.
new. Like it breaks it down into that granular.
Uh-huh.
It's just very neat.
Wow, that's amazing. And going back to what you shared about the image creator, image generator
Yeah.
based on the description, like
Uh-huh.
I've been playing with that too, and I love this tool. And so, like, let's say you mentioned the like blue dog.
Hmm.
What was your description? Like, a dog that blue, or, or
Uh-huh.
something. And then if the image is not what they had in mind, I'm going to say, make it a little bit more descriptive, add in more detail. What do you
Yeah,
want it to do? What is the setting? What's the size? And so, like, make it more
exactly.
descriptive, and it trains them to visualize, like using words to visualize, or to
Absolutely.
portray what they were thinking in here, like in their head. Right.
Absolutely.
I
And
love that tool. Hmm.
for sure. And you get into a really good point too, that one of the things we have to teach our kids is the power of good prompting. Because when you're
Yes.
using an AI tool, you have to prompt AI to give you something good. And if you just say, write me a student teacher recommendation, it will be the most bland thing you've ever read in
Right.
your life. And anyone
Hmm.
who reads it will know it's AI because it's,
Hmm.
it sounds like an AI generated thing.
Right.
So
Uh-huh.
which is not what you want. So when you prompt something better, you can continue to go back and forth. You can get more descriptive. You can say, use my exact words. I want these phrases in there. And that's something our students will need to understand how to do, and we can teach them.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you have any like hilarious mishaps or something like a AI gone wrong? Like those teachable moments when you have encountered experimenting with AI and how you turn them into valuable learning experiences?
Wow, what a good question. The biggest way for me is that I became familiar with AI tools, I think before the general population did, and got really
Mm-hmm.
interested in it and did a lot of like my own homework, like looking into it. So something that happens to me a fair amount is I will read something and I know that was generated from AI. So like whether it's
Mm-hmm.
a personal email or like I don't so whatever communication, a letter, I'll read it and I will know. And so
Mm-hmm.
it works. Sometimes I'm an assistant principal. My principal will say, "Was that AI generated?" And I'll read it and be like, "Yeah, 100% was." And we
Uh-huh.
talk about that there are like tools that determine that. And she's always like,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, but you're better than any of them." So I
Uh-huh.
think the biggest one is like once you understand how similar it all sounds, it
Uh-huh.
like almost gives you the cringe a little bit when you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you just had that like
Yeah,
spit
yeah.
out at you.
Like it's like if you're using like a certain photo filter and you're like, I know what filter that is.
That is exactly right. What a good analogy. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, that's so funny. And I bet you experiment with a lot of apps. And, like a lot of times, like, you're like, oh, it promises so many things. And you try it out and you're like, no, that's not even that good. Right.
absolutely.
So I remember when I first saw one of your videos and I was like, oh my gosh, this is fascinating. And I just kind of went down the rabbit hole, like watching all of your videos. And then I was watching you grow too. I think when I first
Yes.
discovered you were at like 40,000. And then like next
Ah,
week you're at like 60, 70. And you're like, you have such a huge following now and just constantly growing because there's that demand. People want to know, people want to learn more. And you
they
just
do.
make it so tangible and so easy to understand for your viewers. So thank you so much for that. Okay, I'm
Oh,
going to keep on thanking you.
no problem. That's really kind. I do think that it is so much easier than people think it is, just like
Mhm.
anything. It's kind of
Mhm.
like when my grandma first got her iPhone and I was teaching her how to text and she was learning how to text and then she was like, this isn't hard. And I was like, no, it's not. Anyone can do
Right.
it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's the same
Uh-huh.
thing. It's actually not hard, but it's about contextualizing. Just
Mhm.
like for our students, we teach them a concept, but then we have to root it in their day-to-day life or it doesn't make sense. It's just too abstract. It's the
Mhm.
same idea when we can take
Right.
AI and I can show you like, but this is how you would use it or why
Exactly.
it
Exactly.
makes sense why you would want to learn.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. So, like you mentioned about the newsletter too, like the AI generated versus like a handwritten one or, like a human done one. So, how do we navigate the fine line between embracing AI advancements and maintaining the authenticity and the warmth of human interaction in the classroom?
Excellent question. And honestly, one of the most important things that we should be talking about around this is that, and I loved your word warmth, because
Hmm.
that's something that cannot be fabricated. That is the human experience. And it is so important for our students to be surrounded by that tone of warmth, because one of the other things we teach when we don't know we're teaching it is character education. And
Hmm.
our students are receiving communications or even their families that read very cold or bland or detached
Yes.
because
Uh-huh.
AI generated,
Hmm.
like that's not good for them. And
Hmm.
obviously. And so I think it's this. There's two ways that I would suggest doing it. One way that you can use it just as a really like broad sense is go ahead and write whatever you were writing, but just don't worry so much about it. Like type it out, stream of consciousness, like whatever you wanted to say. And so if you're emailing parents and you're saying like, hi parents, we have to go to the field trip, da, 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 and da, 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 and like you're saying all your things and then put your warmth in and say like,
Hmm.
I just love it so much. And this has been so fun to be with them this week. And I love being their teacher and so proud of them. Put
Hmm.
that in there, all your thoughts, just word vomit. Then
Hmm.
put that in
Hmm.
to ChatGPT or whatever else.
Hmm.
Type that in and then include a prompt that says something like, do not change any of my word choices, but
Hmm.
make this more professional. And
Hmm.
then it will give you your email back,
Hmm.
all the same words. It's just going to have
Hmm.
correct pronunciation and all be in
Hmm.
sentence format and have the right paragraph structure and all the things. And then
Right.
you need to read it again. I always say like, do not ever send something out of it that was AI generated. Do not send it out until you have read it with your 100% attention.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Um,
I'd say, would I say this in person?
exactly.
Yeah.
So that kind of like preserves that human connection and warmth without giving you like that sinking feeling of like, it's the end of my day. And now I have to sit down here and remember how to use commas because I just don't know
Uh-huh.
if I can.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that helps with
Right.
that. The other
Mm-hmm.
thing you can do is have it do it the opposite way, where you put in your bullet points, literally just bullet points. Give
Mm-hmm.
me a letter that includes these informational bullet points. Take
Mm-hmm.
that and then go back in and add your own voice. So I like to think of it in terms of voice, where it's like AI voice sounds cold, detached, mean, and like it doesn't care about you. Or
Mm-hmm.
if you say be playful about it sounds ridiculous and over the top and like is
Exactly.
socially
Yeah.
awkward.
Uh-huh.
So instead, start with the clinical voice and then
Uh-huh.
think in your head, if I were speaking this, what would I say? And then you add it back in as you're going and add your
Uh-huh.
own there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've I've been doing my fair share of playing around with it.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll like, prompt it like, oh, make it personable, like make it friendly. And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm like, no, like take all the hey's
No.
out. Like we're not, yeah. So I'm like, okay, make it a little bit more professional. So it's like finding that good balance.
Yeah, or you can think about it like this. If you think about top level CEOs,
Hmm.
they are responding to people's emails all the time, but
Hmm.
they're not responding to everyone's emails. It's signed them and they probably believe it. They're probably reading it before it was sent out. But their
Uh-huh.
executive assistant is the one who's doing that. They're
Hmm.
actually responding to people's emails. And
Hmm.
then a good CEO is reading it before it goes and like looking and going like, do I agree with that? Do I need to add my voice anywhere? And then sending it. So like
Hmm.
think of it like that. Like imagine you had your own admin assistant that was
Hmm.
going to do life with you as a
Hmm.
teacher. How
Hmm.
would you utilize that?
Right. Do you have any courses? Like, do you have a YouTube channel, Emily?
I used to have a YouTube channel, but then I became a principal and we are living in
And
the
a
age of
mom of two.
YouTubers. And I was like, I cannot have my fifth graders watching me talk about this. Like, bless their hearts.
Oh,
So I took my
that's
YouTube channel
true.
down for the time being.
Uh-huh.
There you can subscribe and someday it will
Hmm.
come back and I will talk about this in longer form. But
Hmm.
for courses, I have three right
Hmm.
now. The one that's the most popular and is used the most often is my digital tools course. It
Hmm.
basically walks you through all of my very favorite free education digital tools to use in your classroom.
Hmm.
And it's very like immersive where like I'm going to have you make something every time. It's
Oh, uh-huh.
kind of designed to be done over the spring or summer so that by the time you hit fall, you have some of that stuff done that you're
Hmm.
excited about to get you excited to go back to the school year. So I have
Hmm.
that one. And then I kind of have a second iteration of that one that focuses more philosophically, like technology in the classroom, how do we want to use it and
Oh,
why? And
oh,
then the
wow.
third one is on becoming a teacher influencer. So if that's something
Oh,
that any of your listeners are interested in,
mhm.
I teach how to do it because just like anything, it's all about
Uh-huh.
effort, understanding the algorithm. So you
Oh,
just have
yeah.
a guide to show you what to do.
That's amazing. Can you
Yeah.
start a fourth course on like teacher prompts to use or like using AI, as a
So funny you
teacher?
say that. You have to be like the 10th person this month who said that to me.
Uh-huh.
So yes, I will commit to that. I need to make that course for people.
Yeah, when you do, let me know and I'll blast it out to all of our listeners too.
Absolutely, I will.
Yeah, I'm
I
like, I'll
will.
be your first subscriber, first student
Oh,
going.
you're sweet.
I love like, dabbling with like new things too, but I know you experiment with a lot of apps and programs, but you must have a handful of some of your favorites. What are some of your current favorites and maybe some recommended apps for teachers to start using?
Okay, so I do. I have a lot of favorites actually, but what I've done, just so that you know, if this feels overwhelming, if you go to my Instagram,
Mhm.
the link in my bio, there's a guide that's linked in there that's completely free. So it's like a 5-page PDF and it's got my favorite like beginner AI tools for teachers specifically. So
Mm.
I'm going to forget some as I'm rattling them off right now. And if you want to have them with like the clickable links and everything,
Mhm.
feel free to go over there. Any of your listeners can go over there and grab that.
Mhm.
Here are some of my favorites. My top favorite right now is called Magic School.
Oh,
I think a
love Magic
lot
School.
of people have used it.
Mhm.
It's really cool, but if you haven't and you're a teacher and you haven't checked out Magic School, you absolutely must. It's very, very
Mhm.
cool. A similar one to Magic School is EduAid, which is a neat tool that kind of does the same thing. And that does anything from like writing a lesson plan to a unit plan to a newsletter to IEP objectives, like anything
Mm-hmm.
you could want, it does. It's pretty
Edu
amazing.
aid. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it also does a good job with like you can put your standards in and it will take those into account. So it's just got more of that like teacher wisdom.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Another good one is Hello History, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if anyone has heard about that one, but basically the idea is that you can have a conversation with any historical figure. So if you were a
Wow.
history teacher and you
Uh-huh.
were teaching on someone at the end of the unit, and I would always have this be a teacher-led lesson because I don't know at what age I would feel comfortable putting this tool in kids' hands, you know?
Mhm.
But I would have it up on the board and like get questions and gather them. You could even do a lesson on what an interview is and what it's like to lead an interview, and
Uh-huh.
then you can interview the historical character. It's
Wow. Uh-huh.
very incredible. Um, and wild what they know. You can ask the historical figure anything about its own life or things
Uh-huh.
that it's done, and the figure knows. It's very neat.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a really cool one that I recommend. One that I think everyone should have an account with is Canva Pro.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think probably most people know at this point that educators get Canva Pro for free, but
Mm-hmm.
they have released a whole slew of AI tools that are extremely high quality. And one of them is an image generator, which happens to also be my favorite image
Yes.
generator.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And one I've recently discovered, which is not in the guide, is called animated. You'd have to go back to my video to get the exact name, but I think it's called Animated Images. It's
Mm-hmm.
created by Meta, the people who do Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so cute. You can take a kid's drawing. So,
Mm-hmm.
like if your own child made one or someone at school, and you scan it into your computer. And
Mm-hmm.
then the image of the drawing, you put little like points of like movement on it. And
Uh-huh.
then you can animate that figure that a student drew. And you
Wow.
can use it in anything. It's mind blowing. It's so cool.
Wow. Uh-huh.
That's a really cool one.
And
There's
that's
one,
through Canva? Did you say that was through Canva
that's a
Pro?
different one. I think
Oh,
it's called
okay.
Animated Images, is what
Okay.
it is. But I have the name on it in a very recent video. You can
Okay.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
The last one is called Question Well. And if your students use Blooket or Gimkit or Kahoot or any of those other gamified learning channels, which are so amazing, you can actually have this generate the question set for you. And after it generates the question set, you can export it directly into Blooket or Kahoot or whatever.
Wow.
So
Uh-huh.
as a teacher, you literally have to do no work except for typing in the word
Uh-huh.
whatever. Like if you're studying birds, you would type in birds and filter for first grade 10-question quiz. It makes a quiz for you and exports it straight to where you want to use it. It's really cool.
Wow. I'm so excited. Okay, we don't have school today, but like I'm gonna play with all of these things and like put them to use right away. And I can't wait. I'm so excited for this episode to air so that everyone could listen and try all of these things. So exciting. You're much younger than me, but when I was little and I would watch the cartoon Jetsons,
Uh-huh.
it was kind of like all the far-fetched ideas. Like you have a robot maid, like what's
Yes.
crazy is like, well, you were talking to someone on the phone and you could see their faces on the screen. And that was like,
Yes.
oh, and we laugh about it. We're like, and I tell this to the kids, my students, and they're like, yeah, like FaceTime. I'm like, you don't understand. FaceTime didn't exist when I was younger. Like
Yes.
Zoom or video calls, smartphones, internet didn't exist. So that was like that's crazy. Like up there with like flying cars and like
Absolutely.
little machines you put a little pill into and it pops up into food or, like little things like that. So,
Yes.
I mean, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, all these things didn't exist that exists now. So I can't wait to see what else, like gets invented in
Oh,
the future,
absolutely.
in the near future.
The world changes so fast, and it's like being a minor, trying to be like, I can't stop the world from changing, but I can find the good in it and get excited about that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, self-driving cars, come on now. Like,
Yeah.
if you had to guess, is there some kind of like a far-fetched idea or something crazy, like quote unquote crazy, that you think might get created in the next like 5 or 10 years?
I think the biggest changes we're going to see, and like praise the Lord for this, I think we're going to see medical advancements unlike we've ever seen before. I think we're
Yeah.
going to see
Uh-huh.
we're going to start to see like preventative care that is
Hmm.
gonna skyrocket. We're going to start to see
Yeah.
testing, cures. I think that stuff is going to really come along. I have a couple of friends that are like in the medical sales area and
Hmm.
kind of share the interest of like AI and progressive tech with me. And
Hmm.
they've talked about like there's so much to be hopeful for about our
Yeah.
medical future, which is really cool.
That is true. I know in like the engineering world too, all these like
Mhm.
programming, all the coding, it just gets done
Yeah,
so easily. So I know some people are losing jobs because of that, but I know certain there are new jobs that are being created also because of that too,
that
and
is so
lives being
true.
saved. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
my son's graduating soon, and he's a bioengineering major, and so like the whole biomedical engineering world, like I'm sure it's
Yeah.
just crazy right now.
Oh, it
You know,
must be insane. It's going to change
right?
so much.
Yeah. So, okay, so we have a segment on our podcast called Tag Your It, where listeners write in with a question and we just randomly pick one and we have the guests answer. And today's question comes from Julie N. And I, I think this was perfect for this episode. It says, if you could invent a machine that could
Mm.
do anything you wanted to do, I mean, as a mom, assistant principal, or, just as an
Mm.
adult doing adulting, what would it be?
What a good question. I am in a series of my life or season of my life right now where time is the most important thing in the world to me. I have
Mhm.
two young toddlers. I'm an
Mhm.
assistant principal. I'm doing the content creating,
Mhm.
a lot going on, a lot of irons in the fire. And I think the biggest thing for me is if I could get from point A to point B without having to travel, like
Yes. Uh-huh.
almost like Harry Potter apparating. Like if something could get me there,
Uh-huh.
which
Uh-huh.
they do say that it exists. Like we have learned how to like make someone molecular. We
Oh
just
my
haven't learned
gosh.
how to reliably put them back together.
Uh-huh.
I would not want to be a guinea pig for that. But
Right.
as soon as it gets invented, I cannot wait
Uh-huh.
because I'm going to
Oh
get
my
so much
gosh.
time back.
Yeah, no more traffic, no more travel time,
Oh,
right? Yeah.
absolutely.
And for me, like every time I'm getting ready for school in the morning and I'm like blow drying my
Uh,
hair, and you have long hair too, so I'm sure you understand. It takes forever to dry my hair and put on
yes.
my makeup. I'm like, I wish I could just walk through like a door and then all of a sudden my hair and makeup gets done exactly how I want it. Like boom.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I take it back. Maybe I want your invention. That's a good
Well,
one.
once I invent one, I'll let you know.
Okay, yeah, I'll be your first subscriber.
I'm just kidding. Well, this has been so much fun, Emily. Like, I know we said time is going to go by so fast, and it just like went by so fast.
Good.
Thank you so much for being an amazing guest on our show. It was a true pleasure having you, and I look forward to learning more from you in the future. So, thank you
Thank
so
you. It was
much.
so fun to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Schoolyard Podcast. Remember to pack your curiosity and meet us back in the schoolyard for our next episode. Tag, you're it. Now it's your turn to write in with a question, which we will answer here on the Schoolyard Podcast for our segment called Tag Your It. Tag us on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter at School Specialty and hashtag Schoolyard Tag Your It with a question that you want answered. One question will be selected per episode to be answered by our featured guest and myself. If your question is chosen to be answered on the podcast, we'll send you a very special Schoolyard Podcast t-shirt. Class dismissed.